person is born with a certain amount of intelligence, unless there are some defects, which affect the brain, and cause great damage to capabilities. Mental and cognitive, and low levels of intelligence, but naturally, a person is not born stupid, but everyone is on a good level from intelligence, and when some are exposed to environmental, educational, cultural and educational conditions, the level of intelligence is affected positively or negatively. Scientists reveal that most children are born smart, but some of them turn into stupidity, and this is what we observe and encounter during dealing. Everyday life, such as meeting people with limited mental abilities, whether at work or at school, whether at school or university, and recent studies revealed the existence of some behaviors, habits, behaviors and foods, which lead to an occurrence, a decline and deterioration in a person's mental abilities, and this decline can be simple, and almost not noticed. Sometimes it becomes an average deterioration, and in other cases the decline is sharp and clear for everyone who deals with the person with it. Also, this deterioration in the capabilities of the brain can be temporary, due to accidental and emergency factors, or it becomes a chronic and prolonged decline. First, obesity, smoking and crowded cities. An American study found that obese people suffer a decline in mental abilities, and the reason is that the brain of these people makes a huge effort greater than that of the brains of others who are of normal weight, and this result appeared when examining the degree of activity in the brain connections, and it turned out to be in a state of hyperactivity when obese people, and in the case of moderate activity when the natural person, and one of the reasons that stupid people suffer from continuing the bad smoking habit, which causes a contraction in the brain cells, and some scientists suggest that smoking is one of the causes of Alzheimer's disease to some degree, as a recent study concluded that attend the meeting daily at work leads to a decrease in the ability of creative expression, because it leads to not to give a chance to go out in the brain, thinking, work and motivation, leading to idle state, calm and lazy brain cells responsible for aspects of creativity, innovation and renewal. A previous study indicated that stability and living in big cities has a role in a significant decline in brain capabilities, when comparing to stability in villages, and the study did not provide the reasons for this decline in large cities, as did not specify any factors such as continuous pollution, or the severity of crowding and noise and loss concentration, as well as the permanent tension, nervousness, and emotional states present in large cities, may be factors that lead to a decline in the capabilities of the brain, but the study needs more research to find out which factors exist in large cities as the main cause of the decline and deterioration of the level of brain capabilities. Second, eating at night and insomnia. A recent study showed that eating late at night causes a great risk to the brain, as it causes a decline and destruction of brain capabilities, and leads to stupidity, and the study shows that people who eat food late and then go to sleep, damage to them occurs in an area of the brain called the hippocampus, seahorse, or hippocampus, which is the region that contains or controls memory cells, because the movement of digestion continues during sleep and is the cause of this damage. This study is the first to provide evidence that eating food at a regular time at night has negative effects on learning and memory capabilities. The researchers conducted an experiment on mice to find out the effects of eating meals at night on the capabilities of the brain, and the study organized the dates of eating the mice food just before bed. Then the researchers subjected these mice to an electric shock, and found that these mice are less able to interact, and their memory weakened after a period of this behavior as compared to mice, who are fed early before bed. Damage factors also affect the capabilities of intelligence and lack of sleep, because they cause many problems, such as diminished abilities of perception, attention and observation of what is happening, and the capacities of remembering and good critical thinking are also weakened. Also, sleep sufficient helps the brain to provide the necessary relief, but lack of sleep and insomnia increases the rate of death of brain cells, and some warn of the danger of covering the brain during sleep, because this behavior increases the high rate of carbon dioxide, and at the same time reduces the amount of oxygen, and this deficiency it causes great damage to the brain. Third, breakfast and ready meals. Some young people and children are accustomed to not eating breakfast, and this habit is one of the causes of stupidity and diminishing brain capabilities, because whoever refrains from eating breakfast has a low blood sugar level, and thus leads to less food reaching the brain cells, which accelerates their decay and death. In contrast, excessive eating increases the chances of developing atherosclerosis in the brain, and consequently, poor blood supply to the brain regions, and a general weakness in the capabilities of the mind and stupidity. Also, fast and ready meals, which contain a large amount of saturated fats, which have damage to the cells of memory, perception and attention. And some studies have proven that there is a relationship between these meals filled with saturated fat and the disease of forgetfulness. In the context of eating foods also causes the consumption of large quantities of sugar a decrease in the capabilities of the brain and impaired memory, and often the child or adult consumes twice the amounts allowed daily, and it is known scientifically the body is not qualified to handle all these huge levels of sugar. The excessive intake of sugars impedes the ability of the brain to absorb proteins and food, and thus a malnutrition of brain cells occurs that affects its capabilities and functions, and causes a state of stupidity. A new study revealed that children watch some fast-paced cartoon series and events cause a decrease in brain function, including the SpongeBob series and other films that follow the same pace, and that some programs affect the intelligence of viewers, after measuring the IQ of these people after seeing these programs. It has also been proven that nerve pressures, work pressure and home problems cause a significant load on a person, and lead to some damage, especially in the case of continuing for a long period of time. A decrease in the number of connections between nerve cells in the brain occurs, and then leads to a decrease in brain capabilities and the emergence of stupidity. Air pollution is also one of the causes of stupidity, given that the brain is the most organ that consumes oxygen in the body. Thus, breathing polluted air reduces the supply of oxygen to the brain, thereby weakening its functions, tasks and capabilities. Another factor in stupidity is the performance of work, tasks and activities during periods of illness. Hard work or study during periods of illness reduces the ability of the brain, as some scholars suggest that the lack of dialogue with others has a negative reflection on the brain, and intellectual conversation increases the high effectiveness of the brain well. Among the most important factors in stupidity is the lack of stimulation of the brain to think, because the thinking process is the best methods for exercising and stimulating the brain, and the lack of thinking causes the brain cells to shrink and contract significantly. Fifth, the Internet and advertising programs. The results of a recent American study published by Columbia University indicate that people who continuously browse sites on the Internet continuously suffer from the weakness of the ability to retrieve information and events, as a result of the total dependence on the information network on the Internet, which leads to the occurrence of memory damage in these people, compared to others who they are browsing to a lesser degree on the Internet, and the researchers are advised in this study to reduce this habit, and rely on the operation of the brain and stimulate it to retrieve information. Stimulate and activate responsible for memory and retrieval cells. We hope to have benefited you and thank you for your kind attention. Please click like and subscribe to the channel so we can continue publishing more videos.